Thingkho Le Malcha by KSO Media and Documentation Cell. Issue number 68, Saturday, 18 November 2023. Headlines. IDLF condemns FIR against its leader, says separate secretariat needed AS interim measure. KOTU urges constitutional bodies to intervene in curbing fallacious moves against minorities. Humanity prevails among Kookies, media men set free amidst high tension. Harvesting hope. Market by RWUS and KSO elevates indigenous Kookies women farmers and artisans affected by conflict. Indian Constitution and Meet Mayak. Tribal people sidelined once again. Biren's 90% peace claim a hoax. Internet ban extended. ABP team meet Manipur governor. 2 arrested Kookie civilians remanded for 4 more days in police custody. Mizoram yet to get 10 rupees crore from center for people displaced from Manipur. Manipulative history of Kookies in Kakistocratic Manipur, apropos to proposed deletion of Kookie history in school syllabus. Thingkho Le Malcha. Relief Center update. Diet Center Relief Center. HQ Ving Chinkanpang, Lamka. Managed by Young Mizo Association, Waimate Chinkan Branch. Total inmates registered, 234. Male, 111. Female, 123. Kookie victims update AS on November 10, 2023. Deaths, 150. Villages burnt, 200 plus. Houses burnt, 7,000 plus. Churches and synagogues burnt, 360. Displaced persons, 41,425. IDLF condemns FIR against its leader, says separate secretariat needed AS interim measure. The Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum, ITLF, has strongly condemned the FIR against its General Secretary Muin Tuming for his comments on a self-governing body for Kookies tribals in Manipur, stating that the charges of sedition and conspiracy to wage war against the Indian government are totally baseless. The Tribal Forum asserted that a separate administration from the Meitei government has always been the demand of the Kookies people since the start of the conflict in May, and the tribal leaders have also made it clear that any political solution should come under the Constitution of India. In its statement of condemnation, the spokesperson of IDLF, Ginza Walzong, mentioned that police cases were also earlier filed against IDLF's chairman and spokesperson in an attempt to silence the voice of the tribal movement, reiterating why the Kookies people are adamant in their demand for separation. Ginza Walzong said innocent Kookies civilians were butchered in Meitei-dominated areas, including the capital, and those that survived have been chased out with no possibility of going back. We have been called illegal immigrants, and Meitei civil societies declared war on us. The state government and police have openly sided with the Meitei community, with commandos leading attacks on tribal villages, he said. ITLF spokesperson also said even NGOs in the field of development, aided by the chief minister, N. Biren Singh, were trying to siphon off funds meant for tribal development. In the most recent case on October 23, the CM requested Tribal Affairs Minister Arjun Munda to approve 6 projects worth over crores of rupees to Meitei NGOs based in Impal. None of them worked for tribal welfare, he said, adding that the state's education minister told a Meitei activist that he would remove a chapter on the Kookie from school books, an obvious attempt to erase tribal history. Tribal government employees and our MLAs can no longer reach Impal and are unable to perform their duties for their constituencies, Ginza said. Meanwhile, the IDLF leader alleged that the Kookies people have not received any help from the state government, even central government aid like food and other essential items are routed through neighboring Mizoram state as Meitei mobs do not allow any material to reach tribal areas. The tribals no longer have access to the highway linking them to the country's rail corridor and the airport. As the Kookies people do not know when the central government will complete the mechanisms for a separate administration. IDLF said the people need a separate secretariat in the interim so that their government servants and lawmakers can continue working for their people. KOTU urges constitutional bodies to intervene in curbing fallacious moves against minorities. The top Kookies tribal body in Manipur's Kangpokpi district, the Committee on Tribal Unity, or the KOTU, Sadar Hills Kangpokpi, has called for the intervention of constitutional bodies to prevent various communally fallacious moves against the minorities. It stated that the Committee on Tribal Unity in its essence is a philanthropic organization, overseeing the welfare of the displaced people. However, on the contrary, the Arambai Tangle and Meitei Lipan are terror groups that should be blacklisted as unlawful associations under relevant acts, as these terror groups are provided with sophisticated weapons and authorized to operate in broad daylight as parallel security forces. It added. It also recalled that in an event on August 16, Manipur Chief Minister N. Biren Singh and MP Lishimba Sanajaba were seen blessing the Arambai Tangle cadres. The committee also stated that another hate-spilling factory, Kokomi, which is a conglomerate of all Meitei CISOs, should be on the radar as. This particular CISO is receiving the support of the blacklisted terror groups by the Ministry of Home Affairs and is serving their interest in instilling secessionist ideology among the innocent youths to achieve their quest for restoring pre-merger agreement status for the Valley, I.E. Kangli Pak. The members of this organization should be prosecuted under UPA and Official Secrets Act for hideously designing to wage war against India. It stated. KOTU further stated that in a recent press statement, the Kokomi quoted Minister of External Affairs of India, S. Jaishankar's statement that a large influx of immigrants led to the present crisis in Manipur. However, the Union External Affairs Minister should be alarmed that an Indian Aadhaar card bearing the name of one Moarangathe Premananda, with flags and combat dresses of banned Meitei extremist organizations, was found in a military junta camp in TMU district of Myanmar. It also stated that the External Affairs Minister and the Union Home Minister should also be alarmed by the repeated cross-border attacks on the Indian Army in Manipur by such unlawful Meitei groups based in Myanmar as it alleged that these secessionist groups based in Myanmar are often provided illegal entry by state actors to unleash untold sufferings amongst the Kookies people. There are also instances of several Valley-based print and electronic media displaying ignorance out of malice. The sensationalism of their news and events knows no media ethics. The Editors Guild of India, for the sake of impartial reporting, gave a slap in the face to the Meitei media for biased reporting. However, they still sleep under the blanket of hate and prejudice reporting, the KOTU stated, pointing out that the editorial column of the Impul Times dated November 16, 2023, blatantly stated that KOTU should be declared as unlawful for demanding separate administration. The communal editor may be reminded that it is the inherent right of every citizen of India to demand constitutional protection, including separation from an oppressive dominant community in accordance with the Constitution of India. It added. KOTU went on to state that the latest communal FR filed against the General Secretary of ITLF is an attempt to subdue the Kookies movement by misuse of laws, and such frequent misuse of the law will only worsen the existing communal tension and will further tarnish the sanctity of the law courts in Manipur. Therefore, the Supreme Court, the National Human Rights Commission, the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, and other constitutional bodies must intervene to deter such fallacious moves against minorities. Humanity prevails among Kookies, media men set free amidst high tension. In an extreme display of humanity amidst high tension between the warring communities in Manipur, one Laikambam Langam Meitei 61 S/O of L. Laikambam Bhaira Singh of Limaram Mamang Laikai was set free by Kookie villagers on November 16. The man who was taking refuge at Thingkho village since the onset of the current ethnic violence under the care of the village's chief was handed over to security force and later reunited with his relatives at Limaram Relief Center. The news came amidst the backdrop of the abduction of 4 innocent Kookie civilians by the Meiteis, who were later slaughtered. The 4 individuals were killed just because they belonged to the Kookie community. No harm or fault was committed by them, their only mistake being Kookie by birth that led to their untimely demise. However, in contrast to the Meiteis' disregard for humanity and to show the genuine respect that every human being deserves, the Kookies set free a man who was under their custody without any harm done to him. As per the village chief, though the man may belong to our enemy's community, he has not harmed anybody. Though he may be a Meitei, if he is innocent, he should be given the respect he deserves. As such, he is handed over to the security force so that he can reunite with his family again, the village chief said. Harvesting Hope, market by RWUS and KSO elevates indigenous Kookies women farmers and artisans affected by conflict. An Indigenous Women Farmers Market was organized by RWUS, Rural Women Upliftment Society, in collaboration with KSO Kookie Students Organization. Lamka branch with the objective of showcasing and promoting tribal indigenous products, including handicrafts and various traditional items, as well as daily consumable foods and fresh farm vegetables. This initiative aims to assist indigenous tribal women farmers and artisans, especially those who were internally displaced by the conflict, in promoting their skills productively, attracting local community members to purchase their farm vegetables and handicrafts. The collaboration between RWUS and KSO stands as a testament to the power of collective action in fostering positive change by supporting and empowering internally displaced Kookies women farmers and artisans. The initiative aims to create a ripple effect that extends beyond economic empowerment to contribute significantly to the preservation and promotion of indigenous tribal heritage. Indian Constitution and Meitei Mayak, tribal people sidelined once again. N. Biren Singh has announced that the Constitution of India will be published in Meitei Mayak script. Taking to his microblogging site account X on Saturday, Biren said, "In a historic moment, The Constitution of India will be published in Meek script. This landmark achievement not only promotes the Manipuri script but also gives the speakers of Manipuri language or Maidilan a door to the Indian Constitution. He said he was extremely elated to know that the Law and Legislative Affairs Department, Government of Manipur is publishing the Diglot edition, English Manipuri, of the Constitution of India and this edition in Manipuri Meek script, conveying his best wishes for the grand success of the publication. Biren said despite 73 years of the coming into effect of the Constitution of India, many of its tenets have remained outside the sphere of knowledge for the common man, largely because of its non-availability in the local language. The publication along with amendments up to the 105th Amendment this time is therefore very significant as well as special, being in the Meek script, he said. Believing that its publication would be an important landmark in the history of the state of Manipur, Biren added that the document in the edition would definitely become an invaluable asset for the entire state. TLM view. The proposed publication of Indian Constitution in Meek script amidst the ongoing secessionist movement by the Ban Meek militants is highly appreciated. However, the publication will not yield any result for the 43% of the Manipur tribal population as the huge chunk of tribal population is not well versed with the Meek. Tribal languages have been discriminated once again. It is clear that Biren Singh and his government is of the Meitei, for the Meitei, and by the Meitei, the tribal people, particularly the Kookie people, are satisfied enough in reading and learning the Constitution of India in English or Hindi edition. With the announcement of the proposed publication of the Constitution of India in Meek, the demand for separate administration for the Kookies people has been validated day after day. Biren's 90% peace claim a hoax, internet ban extended. With the continuous extension of internet ban in the state of Manipur for another 5 days, the rhetoric of Biren's 90% peace claim has been exposed once again. Biren Singh can now be regarded as the chief manipulator CM, and also the divider-in-chief of Manipur in the present circumstances. Biren Singh had last month said that there would be total peace in the state soon. And 90% peace had been achieved. There are some elements who do not want to restore peace. But generally, almost 90% peace has come, and I think with the support of the people and masses, peace will be restored soon, Biren had said. However, even 50% of peace is yet to be achieved as is evident in the continuous extension of mobile internet ban. Due to the prevailing law and order situation, the government of Manipur, once again, has issued an order suspending/curbing of mobile internet/data services, internet/data services through VPN in the territorial jurisdiction of the state of Manipur for another 5 days with immediate till 7:45 p.m. of November 23, 2023 as preventive measure in public interest. The suspension order stated that there are reports related to volatile law and order situation of Manipur like ambush at security forces, protest against missing persons, highway blockade, sit-in protest, etc. And there is apprehension that some antisocial elements might use social media extensively for transmission of images, hate speech and hate video messages inciting the passions of the public, which might have serious repercussions for the law and order situation in the state of Manipur. Meanwhile, the state government had already opened a substantial numbers of mobile towers and few district headquarters, which has not been affected by the violence on trial basis and as per direction of the High Court of Manipur's order dated June 11, 2023 and subsequent order dated September 11, 2023, as passed in PL number 25 of 2023 and other related cases. After proper examination/assessment of the prevailing law and order situation in the state, the orders said, the state government is considering to open and operationalize more numbers of mobile towers in the other district headquarters on trial basis, if law and order situation permits. ABVP team meet Manipur governor. A team of Northeast SEL tour of Akil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Paris had ABVP, led by its state president Professor Premlada Maisnam, along with representatives from different states called on Governor Anusuya Uki at Raj Bhavan, here, on Friday and shared their experiences about their visit and efforts for bringing peace in the state. The team, while sharing their experiences about their Manipur visit, expressed elation over the natural beauty, culture, and traditions of the state. Informing the governor about their visits to relief camps, they conveyed their concern on the prevailing situation and hoped for speedy restoration of peace and harmony. While asking the student leaders about their aspirations, the governor said that students should contribute to the nation-building process to make India a strong and developed nation. The governor mentioned that student organizations have been a platform for the students to build their career in many aspects of life. Education in the colleges or universities is not only meant for obtaining degree, but also for development of one's personality and gaining confidence to excel in things which will come up in the future, she added. 2 arrested Kookie civilians remanded for 4 more days in police custody. The 2 Kookie civilians arrested in connection with the alleged kidnapping of 2 students from Akamawang Lake on November 5 somewhere along Manipur Highway have been remanded to police custody for 4 more days. The accused persons identified as Lung Kosiai Shangloy alias Mimin, 30, S/O Hinton Thing Shangloy of C Asian Village under Cycle Police Station and Satgaujan Hangsing alias Gogu, 28. S/Owen Gamjalan Hangsing of Kamanam Village under Litnam Police Station were produced before the Court of Special Judge N.I. Impal West in charge today through video conferencing along with a prayer for further 5 days police custody remand. Through an app, the IO of the case submitted that the 2 missing boys, Avinash Maibam, 16, S/O.M. Hemanta Singh of Akamawang Laikai and Ningthajam Anthony Singh, 19, S/O. Late and Sundar Singh of Akamawang Laikai went out from their home on November 5 at about 9:10 a.m. on a Jawa motorcycle, black in color, bearing registration number MN01 and 3387 to meet their friends at Awang Sekmai but didn't come back home. Stating that proper interrogation has not been completed yet, the investigation officer prayed for remanding the accused to police custody for 5 more days. The court, after hearing the submission of the IO of the case and on perusal of the material on record, remanded the accused in police custody for 4 more days till November 20. Notably, the Committee on Tribal Unity (KOTU) has been demanding unconditional release of the arrested duo since few weeks back and continues the protest by calling indefinite economic blockade. Mizoram yet to get 10 rupees crore from Center for people displaced from Manipur. Even after 6 months, the Center is yet to sanction 10 rupees crore sought by the Mizoram government for providing assistance to the internally displaced people, IDP, from taking shelter in the state due to the ongoing ethnic clashes. State Home Department officials said on Friday. The officials said there are almost 12,000 IDPs from Manipur taking shelter across the state who have been facing immense hardships due to paucity of funds. Chief Minister Jaram Thanga had asked for 5 rupees crore as humanitarian aid to the IDPs on May 16, and again for 10 rupees crore on May 23, as the number of IDPs increased over time, the officials said. The Ministry of Home Affairs sought expenditure incurred by the state government for looking after the IDPs in September, including expenses on food, medicines, shelter, and other essential items. The reply with the expenses for 6 months was given on September 21, an official said. Manipulative history of Kookies in Kakistocratic Manipur, apropos to proposed deletion of Kookie history in school syllabus. In a kakistocracy like Meitei's Kanglipak, self-publicists, braggarts, and loudmouth propagandists such as Mahesh Thaunajam, Pramit Singh, and Korangamba run the show under the narcissistic leadership of N. Biren Singh, the chief manipulator and divider-in-chief of the erstwhile Manipur, as per their whims and fancies deviate of any rationalism. Their lies, manipulated narratives, and false information being fed to the common Mayday populace have greatly devastated the state in such a way that the people of their so-called Sinalibak seem to no longer have any desire for peaceful coexistence with the Kookies like never before. The past few years have witnessed different communities in Manipur embroiled in debates on who are the indigenous peoples. Ironically, this public debate centers on redefining the histories by vested interests with ulterior motives. Over 6 months have passed of the ongoing ethnic cleansing pogrom unleashed on the minority Kookies by the majority Meiteis. The debate on historicity of the Kookies came to the fore once again. On Thursday, Noisy Maheshwar Thaunajam claimed that Manipur's Education Department Minister Bazana Kumar Thaunajam made assurance to remove the chapter The Kookies from the book, History of Manipur, written by M. Kayaba Singh and B. S. M. Sharma, alleging of distorting history in the Class 11 syllabus. Maheshwar alleged that some information relating to the migration of Kookie in Manipur is misinterpreted. As per the chapter, The Kookie of this book, it is written that some Kookie tribal are migrated to Manipur during the prehistoric period. The said information is completely wrong as Manipur has a written history from 33 AD. On top of this, according to the book Manipur and Naga Hills, 1896, by James John Stone, it was written that the term Kookie was heard between 1830 and 1840, he alleged. He also claimed that the Anglo-Kookie War had never occurred in the history of Manipur. The said fact was also already issued from the Union Ministry of Home Affairs as an RTI reply. Unfortunately, the Anglo-Kookie War is still a part of Delhi University, which is very unfortunate and condemnable. No wonder even a person with no specialized knowledge or non-academic historian in Meitei's Kanglipak can act like a know-it-all by suggesting and dictating to scholars and academicians according to their whims and fancies. Kookie Perspective, The name-calling political narrative against the Kookies had already done more damage than imagined to the long-cherished peaceful relationship among different communities. Such narratives lacked historical sense. Evidences are omitted, tempered, and manipulated to control history in Orwellian way. Interpretations are based on fulfilling one's present political agenda, despite fully aware of the future consequences for the state. There are ample historical and archaeological evidences to indicate the Kookies lived in their current area and state since time immemorial. The hole in the earth, which is spoken of as Kul by the Kookies as their initial place of origin, is believed to be at the source of the Impul River, which the Kookie called it as Gun River since time immemorial. In all the old stories and legends of the Thaddis, Kangjai Kookie, the river Gun is frequently mentioned and is of great fame. Legend has it that Kookies left their old Haokip Koljang settlement, identified as present Keithalmambi village of Kangpokpi district, Manipur, which was known to the old Meiteis as Kangjai Kunman, which means the old site of the Kookies, the place where all living beings took refuge during the Great Flood Tidabin. From there, they followed down the Impul River, Gunvidung and Kookie, to reach the southern hills. William Shaw, 1929, pages 24 to 32. In other words, a group of Kookie ancestors left northern Manipur for other places during prehistoric period, and later some of their descendants came back to this land. McCulloch, 1859, 55 to 57, similarly stated that, although occupants of the hills to the south of the valley of Manipur, their traditions do not give the southern hills as the place of their origin, but rather lead them to the belief that it was in the northern Manipur. I have before noticed the circumstance of the Kupuis, Kabui Naga, believing themselves to be occupying the sites of villages which once belonged to the southern tribes, the Kookies, and as this belief tallies with the Kangjai Kookie idea, that they came from the north. The northern boundary of their ancestral domain ran roughly along the old ancient route of Manipur toward the west, known as Kangjai route, and then along the foothills of the southern valley of Manipur, and then along the old ancient route of Manipur toward the east, known as Amoli Amal route. Pemberton, 1835:55-56. Pemberton, 1835, 15, had also clearly demarcated this ancestral domain of the Kookie people. Thus, the Kangjais, who under the more generally known names of Kookies, Kuchungs, and Kusi, stretch from the southern borders of the Manipur Valley to the northern limit of the province of Arakan. This mountain country was what the medieval Buddhist monk, Taranatha, had called the Kookie country. Kaitharol Kumbaba, the royal chronicle of Manipur, vaguely understood this highland as the Kangjai Hills, Kaki, Gi, land, etc. These hills have become part of Manipur only in the 19th century. The Manipuri expedition into the ancestral territory of the Kookies Kangjais began in the early 18th century and went on until the southern boundary of Manipur was drawn in 1894 by a boundary commission. Therefore, it is not much a surprise that there was little mention of the Kangjais Kookies before that time. From the pages of Kaitharol, it has often been argued that Kookie had been not mentioned in the Kaitharol Kumbaba, the royal chronicle of Manipur, until about the 19th century, and hence their entry into Manipur by such date. This is factually wrong. If legends and mythologies of Manipur have an iota of believable reality or truth, they have many references of the Kookies in the old literature of Manipur. Two reasons would suffice to argue why the name Kookie appeared quite late in the Kaitharol. First, the term Kookie was imported to Manipur by the British in the 1820s, and in 1850s a new name known as the New Kookie Steward, 1855. Kookies were mentioned in Kaitharol Kumbaba as Kangjais in 1508. Second, Kookies' contact with Kangla and the annexation of their ancestral land in the southern mountain by the latter took place very late compared to other hill tracts. The main reference to spew the hate speeches is James Johnstone's memoir, My Experience in Manipur and Naga Hills, 1896. While Kaitharol was summarily dismissed for not having anything about the name Kookie, and hence said to be one proven evidence of their absence in Manipur before the 19th century and their subsequent entry into Manipur, Johnstone's memoir was used as the Bible of hate speeches. Johnstone's use of the terms wandering race, first heard of, or new immigrants have been largely manipulated and loosely interpreted without considering its context and without verifying with other sources. For instance, his idea of wandering race was not acceptable to other colonial sources before him. Pemberton, 1835-15, had found that all the tribes in the region had been already well settled in permanent villages with its own polity sufficient to preserve the social compact. W. McCulloch, 1859, 57-8, during whose time most of Kookie northward movement took place, declared that originally they Kookies were not migratory, but have assumed this character latterly. As learnt from history and endorsed by scholars in Manipur, their seeming scattered settlements across the hill tracts of Manipur and beyond is the consequence of the deliberate policy of the British and the Maharaj of Manipur. Johnstone use of the term like pouring into the hill tracts of Manipur should be understood in terms of the official policy of the Maharaja of Manipur and the British political agency. Johnstone idea of first heard of Kookie merely refers to the use of the term Kookie in Manipur, which was a luxury import here by the British in the 1820s. His idea of new immigrants was based on the official colonial map, which can be seen in his book, Figure 1, of his time in Manipur, 1877 to 1886. Why the narrative has avoided other sources then? There were series of accounts of colonial officers before Johnstone such as Pemberton, McCulloch, Robert Brown, etc. They all, including Johnstone, agreed that Kookies came from the southern borders of the Manipur Valley or south of the Valley of Manipur. Thus, Pemberton's 1835-15 said that the native hills of the Kookies stretch from the southern borders of the Manipur Valley to the northern limit of the province of Arakan, not as imagined by some groups. They did not enter Manipur. The present colonial boundary of Manipur, the annexation of the northern part of their ancestral domain, the southern mountains of Manipur, roughly present Farzal, Churachandpur, Chundel and Tindnupal districts, into Manipur, Kangla Kingdom in the 19th century make them to be part of Manipur's subjects. Unlike other hill tracts, the annexation of Kookie ancestral land into Manipur was made by sacred covenants signed by the Kookie chiefs and the Maharaj of Manipur in a most solemn manner. They were the covenants of peace and friendship which governed the relationship between the Kookies and the Kangla kingdom. The military histories of Manipur testify how the Kookies had toiled against all odds for the kingdom of Manipur. Moreover, it is a well-known fact that the increasing number of Kookie villages in Kookie-dominated districts and the decreased in other districts of the state in recent times, since 1980s, have been the consequence of their internal displacement from Naga-dominated districts. It has nothing to do with immigration from beyond the border. In fact, the Kookies who came from Kabah Valley in 1967 and thereafter, so-called foreigners/aliens, after the Kadami operation were homecomers, returnees, who were expelled by Burmese authority for being Indian citizens who had crossed the border from Manipur due to displacement caused by Naga movement in the Indo-Burma border districts. Kookie Research Forum QRF. On objective historical position of the Kookies in Manipur, May 25, 2022, it is clear from different sources of historical records, oral traditions and folktales that Kookies were not immigrants but the original settlers of the hills surrounding the valley of Manipur from earliest times. It is just that the political compulsion of the time, such as the official policy of Manipur to scatter them in different parts of Manipur hills and need for new land for cultivation when their ancestral home was under control by others, compelled them to migrate. To portray that the Kookies of Manipur are a problem to Manipur by few individuals and organizations, therefore to malign them, emerges out of sheer ignorance of Manipur history and a blatant dishonor to the sacrifices the Kookies had made for Manipur. Like it or not, the history of Kookies is known to the world and is studied as one of the essential readings of MA History in Delhi University and many other varsities. Deleting the history of Kookies may be possible in the land of Métis Manipur proper but not in the Kookies land and the world.